Guys, today I would like to show you guys how to perform a regression analysis and OLS, ordinary square models. So our main dependent variables will be GDP, that is economic growth. Then our main independent variables automatically will be carbon dioxide emission, written in short form as CO2, followed by other independent variables like trade liberalization, inflation rate, and energy consumption. These are our four independent variables. So we would like to see how carbon dioxide impact GDP, economic growth. So because in many of the countries recently there has been a hot debate about the impact of carbon emissions on the economic growth. Is danger. So trade liberalization, we want to see how freedom of trade, free movement, construction of free zone, does it impact GDP? How and by what magnitude, by what effects? We would also like to see the impact of inflation rate, whether the increase or decrease of inflation affect GDP and by what magnitude. So we would also like to see the impacts of energy consumptions, whether consumption of more power, electricity, consumption of other fossil fuels, all other types of energy sources. What impact does it have on GDP? Will it increase the economic growth of a country? Will it decrease, and by what percentage or magnitude? So this is what we are going to look. So in these models we are going to use ordinary square model, OLS. So this is gross domestic product, carbon emission, trade liberalization, inflation rate, and energy consumption. Therefore, if you want to perform an OLS models, there is a command. There is a command that you first have to put. The first command will be regress. This is an OLS command in stata. These analytic tools. The first you have to put reg is mean regressed. Then the first main variables will be the main dependent variables, which is the gross domestic product, our variables of interest. Then followed by the main independent variables, which will be the carbon dioxide emissions. Then followed by other independent variables of interest, which is energy consumption, trade liberalization, and inflation rate. So after putting, this is our main dependent variable followed by all other independent variables, and after you click enter in your keyboard, stata will do its miracles and the results will pop out. Alright, this is our results now. You see, this is how stata give out the outputs of the results. Stata will display even the number of observations in the data that you're using. So from here we can see that the number of observations in our data is 44. and stata will give the probability, the significance of the estimation, which is very significant, statistically significant. The significance, the p-value, this p-value should be less than 0.05. Stata will display the R square. From here we can see that our R square is 85%, which is very good, because R square represent the association of this, the association of these variables with the dependent variable. So their association is very good, and they have a very high association, which is very good, and it's 86%. Root mean square, stata will display the root mean square, which is good. This is our p-values, significance. So with the interpretation of the results, first you have to look at the p-value. Is it significant? If it's significant, then your result is very good, it's very robust. We look at the R square. IR square means it's a very robust results. Adjusted R square, you look at the adjusted R square, then the R square, then you come and look at the results. Stata will display, this is our main dependent variable, GDP, then this side is the independent variables. So we look at our main independent variable of interest. What's the impact of carbon emissions on our economic growth, GDP? So if you look at here, we look at the magnitude of the economy here. Here is how you interpret the results. We interpret in a way that we say that increase in carbon emissions will lead to increase in GDP by this coefficient. This coefficient, you see the coefficient. Increase in carbon emissions in industry, in different part of sector, will increase economic growth of a country by 4,769. So, and the result is statistically significant. That means that in any given country, if there is any growth in economy, it has to be associated with carbon emission. That means there is high level of carbon dioxide being emitted. You look at the country, different other countries that have vast production, for instance, USA, China, all others, first world countries, UK, what most of it, there is high carbon emissions in the air. Those are the countries that have a lot of complaints with pollution and everything, and the result is very robust, statistically significant. Then we look at the next independent variables. How is it associated with the economic growth, with GDP? For energy consumption of electricity, consumption of all other energy sources. From here we can see that increase in the consumption of energy will lead to decrease in GDP by approximately 10%. And the result is statistically significant. The p-value is less than 0.05, and the result is robust. So, and when we look at the trade liberalization, increase in trade liberalization will increase the economic growth by 2.930371. But the result is statistically insignificant, because we told you that any p-value greater than 0.05, it will be insignificant. Then when we look at the inflation rate, increase in inflation will increase our GDP by 2.430027, but the p-value is statistically insignificant. It's insignificant value here. So that's how we interpret our result. Thanks guys.